Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen. So, if you haven't guessed by now, I was away for quite a while, even though I was still giving you content as I was away. I did two retreats back to back. I did a watercolor retreat in Spain, in the Gras Lima, like in the mountains of Spain, and we went to Ronda and Sentil de Bodegas, and I think I said it wrong, Centenil or whatever, and El Gastor. And then I took some time off, went to Marbella for myself, which was amazing. And then I went to outside of Toulouse in this town called Ati, I guess, in France, for another week for my French watercolor retreat, which was a lot of fun. We went to some really cool towns. We went to this town where they filmed a 100-foot journey, with Helen Mirren. If you've seen that movie, it's like one of my favorite movies. It's kind of the center of the town is where she has a conversation with, I think, the mayor or something, where she wants to get rid of the family who has the Indian restaurant. And that town was really cute. We had fun painting there. And then after that, I went on vacation with my husband. We went to, we started off in Provence, then we went to Nice, then back to Provence, and then went to Paris. And of course, I finally got to see Monet's gardens. And when I was in Paris, went to Monet and gardens in Versailles that day. Actually, on the hottest day, I swear to God, of the year, maybe. I don't know. It was 95 degrees, and it was insane. Thank God Monet was in the morning, but Versailles was in the afternoon, and it was extremely hot and miserable. But so I got to finally see Monet's gardens, and I really wanted to pick that time of year to go see it. I could have saw it last September because I wanted to see the flowers, and I figured that summer would be best for that, right? And they were all in bloom. They had every flower you can imagine in his gardens. He had the English gardens kind of in the front of his house, like this over this kind of awning with all his trellises, and they're like the rows and rows of flowers, which were amazing. And then, of course, the water lilies with the bridges that that you've seen in the paintings. He actually made this like pond. It didn't exist, right? So it's amazing. It's in Normandy, which is a cute little town. So there's not much to do in that town. So I guess the family would go to the other town in front of it, like the town before it, to go have hang out or whatever, because there was something to do in Giverny. Anyway, to me, in my mind, like the flowers in his gardens, like in the English part of it, the English flowers, whatever. I don't know if you call it English flowers, but the flowers in front of his house were just like all haphazard. There was tons of flowers. There was like sunflowers and roses and you name it, every kind of flower known to man. It was there. It was totally there. So this tutorial I'm going to do today is using a bunch of different brushes and different color paints and just making haphazard flowers and then throwing the greens. And that's kind of what it felt like to me. So I was inspired to do something like that. I think you can easily paint something like this if you're a beginner, intermediate, or advanced. And just go with it. You're just taking the paint, you're putting it down on paper, you're taking the brushes and playing with them. We're taking a flat wash brush, we're taking a cast tongue brush, and like a skinny long round brush, and just making these different petals and leaves. It really doesn't take that much. And I think the problem is that most people get caught up in their head when they're painting wildflowers. They're thinking too much. And you just have to take the action of just painting it and just going for it and just grabbing the color and painting it. When you're thinking too much, you're overthinking and you're not getting that loose feel that you're looking for. So hopefully this tutorial will help you with that, and whatever, I don't know. So also check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials that are not on YouTube, that are more advanced and more in depth. And I did one that was like on the path that I took in Marbella, where I wasn't staying in Marbella. I'll be adding more from my adventures in my Patreon, so stay tuned for that if you're a Patreon member. Also, if you're a Patreon member, you get first dibs on my watercolor retreats and workshops. And I'll be announcing a watercolor retreat next week for Portugal in 2024. So if you want to be a Patreon, you can get the first dibs on that. Join Patreon. And you'll find the link in the description box below. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. We have a lot of fun over here. And I do real-time tutorials. I believe in just showing you how I would paint it and what's going on with me. And if I make a mistake, I'll show you how I fix it. You can edit it to a T, but it's not going to really be helpful for the viewer. I think it's more helpful for a viewer if you're seeing how I go about painting something. So without further ado, let's get painting some wonderful and wild kind of flowers that were inspired by Monet's gardens in Giverny. So here's a glimpse of the water lily pond in Monet's Giverny gardens. It's pretty massive, actually. Goes a pretty long way. And so this is man-made. You see the weeping willows. And there's tons of people. Can you see the people hanging out everywhere? There were so many people there that day. And that was just the morning. And it's just pretty vast, but it's a lot of greenery, less floral. There's florals here and there, but there's not that many flowers where the Japanese garden is, it's more like greens. And then you come into his gardens by his house, which are more like English garden kind of structure. A lot of bright colors, roses, sunflowers. You see these rows like I was talking about. And there you go. So let's get started on our tutorial. So let me go over my supplies that I'll be using for this little exercise. I'm using Arches 100% cotton cold pressed paper. This is the pad. These are loose sheets. These are not a block. See how loose they are. They're a lot cheaper than getting a block. So if you're starting out using Arches and you haven't used it before and it's really expensive to buy a block, get the paper pads. They're on sale. You can always stretch the paper if you want to. There's tutorials on how to stretch watercolor paper and whatnot. I'll be playing around with a flat wash brush. This is just a Princeton Velvet Touch 3/4 inch. But you can get a cheap flat wash, a mixed media brush. You don't have to get a Princeton brush. Let's play with they call it cat's tongue, but Princeton calls it an oval wash. This is the Neptune 1/2 inch. This makes fantastic sunflower petals and leaves. Got a nice little point in the end. I don't know why it's not being focused. There we go. Focus it. Being crazy why it's not focusing. Yeah, we can play with that brush. And maybe like the Princeton 8 long round. Where are you hiding? Somewhere around here. Who knows? Seriously, when you see like a field of flowers and you're overwhelmed and how do I paint it? You don't have to paint it exactly how it looks. You can kind of just get the feel of the colors and like the leaves and all that stuff. It might be good to have like a cheap credit card, an old credit card close by. We can do some scraping too. So what I would do to conquer that, I would paint some, flowers first and then go into the greens and kind of scrape things around. Or you could use masking fluid, but we're just doing a quick little sketch today. Like I said, I was inspired by Monet's gardens. There's so many different flowers in this gardens. It was insane. The amount of people there. So I'm going to start playing around with the cat's tongue brush. You can play with sunflowers. I've got this cadmium yellow deep. I might grab a little cadmium red or even just a little rose just to change the color of the yellow so it's not so bright. A little toned down with the more orangey kind of yellow color. If you want to add some burnt umber to this, play around with that. And these cat tongue brushes are so simple. You can make a sunflower in 2 minutes. Watch. Getting it loose, like very, very loose, like almost like tea. And here, see how this point? You just kind of go like this. And you've got the nice little sunflower shape. Now see how I'm just kind of moving around the paper? Do, 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 do. And I kind of foreshortened the ones on the right side. You kind of have to pick how you want to do the sunflower. And I would let that kind of dry. And I would kind of do one on the side going the other way. If you need to move the paper around, do that. But I think you can just kind of manipulate your brush going around like this. Look how quickly I'm doing this. Like I said, again, I'll kind of let this dry. If you want to go in and grab some like more yellow orange, you can kind of bleed some of it on the ends. I'm grabbing that cadmium red light. Playing around with that. I actually have brilliant orange, which is nice. You can play around with adding that. The brown, like I said, burnt umber. But I like to wait till it's dry and do another layer over there. It's just kind of a little mess here. If you kind of play around with it, you can just add it if you want to on the ends and the bottom. But that's how I would start. And look how simple those petals were with just this brush, right? Simple, simple, simple. We can play around with the flat wash brush with some pinks. So remember, his gardens are full of flowers, all different colors. I'll play around with this bright rose color. I'm gonna go really fast. Really loose like tea again. The water consistency of the watercolor. And I'm gonna manipulate the brush by turning and twisting it. So on the chisel end, just making kind of like a pinky flower. It doesn't have to be super realistic. Holding on the chisel end again. Building the layer. Going around. Boom. Let's do another one out here. Again, you can get a little thicker with the color. I'm using it right from the tube. If you want to add some other colors, I have the cadmium red light and changing the color tones of the pink now. I love to play with flat wash brushes. They're so much fun. See, I'm adding some like little points, just holding the chisel side. And who knows what kind of flower this is. Really kind of funky. And you're just having a feel of just having a bright colored flower there. Now, obviously, you see me painting everything kind of in hot tones. I can add some bright orange up in here, just a little doodad. See, just kind of twist that brush around and you got a cute little flower. If you want to play with that cat's tongue again. Let's make some, other, like I said, I would do the flowers first before you add in the greens. So this is a color called verditer blue. It reminds me so much of like a provincial color. Let's just play around with adding little ditzy flowers down here. I don't know if I'd stick with the cat's tongue for this one. Maybe I'd go and grab a more of a round brush, like the number 12, Aqualite. Then you could do some other things. Or even if you have like a nice little filbert brush, just kind of making these tappy taps. Just little blue flowers. We'll add some greenery to it in a minute. And I like to move things around the paper. So I'm tippy tapping those. This shouldn't take that long for you to just to get an essence and the feel of wildflowers. Down here I'm going to add some ultramarine blue and bright rose, make purple. So we can play around adding that color in here or adding some purples in here. So we're getting everything in the kitchen sink, and that's kind of how I felt when I was at the Monet Gardens. There's so many different flowers there. It was like every flower on the planet you could think of they had. So why not kind of create that here? So here I've just created some nice tippy tap blooms. If you want to sit there and paint a perfectly wonderful petal, see, round petals, just do that. I'm just playing around with that. Now it's still kind of a mishmash, and I kind of like to do things in threes sometimes, so I might go back and grab my wonderful cat's tongue brush and the yellow paint and make some more sunflower, like another one, because I only have two here. Let's put a little one kind of peeking up in here. Dry brush that one. So now the color is thicker. This dried really light. You can do another layer on top. Boom. This one's a little bit darker, thicker to paint. Paint's almost like butter consistency, but not really. And we'll have that one kind of off to the side. It's kind of going like this in a triangle. If you want to add more, maybe I'll have another one down here for the heck of it. Now it's gotten to 4, then I want to actually make it odds. I'll add a 5. A little one over here. Just a teeny sunflower. Yep, got some green in there. Don't worry about it. My palette is all over the place, and it's kind of how I want the flower field to look. See? Simple. Playing back with this bright rose again. It's still damp in here. We can kind of just tippy tap back and forth. All this color. Color. I love it. And if you want to take the rose, mix it with the orange a little bit, do like a flower like this, almost like a rose itself. Swirl around in a circle. Now it's pretty thick, that paint. I can clean off my brush, just grab some water and smush the ends. Okay, and I have a nice pretty rose. See how you do that? So you take the thick paint, like butter paint, and do like a little dashes around, really thick, leaving some white space in between, right in the center. It's really kind of small. And you clean off your brush, and you just grab water on the edges of it and push it around. And then you have a nice, pretty, soft floral rose. So now we've got all these kind of crazy flowers happening, right? Now we would start to put in some greens. And I'll use the yellow I already have. Oops. Dropping everything. And grab some either Prussian blue or peacock blue. Here's the Prussian blue. And start to play around with greens. Again, I can use a flat wash brush. Obviously, the sunflower have a thicker stem. Pull this down, pull these other stems down. Start to play around with that and make it thicker and darker color. Because sunflowers have those really dark stems. Prussian blue, yellow, and a little bit of burnt umber. Going in for it with a little dark color tone. See how I'm going to go just taking this brush and going like that on the side. Pushing it down. Other one too. We're starting to build and build. Now, we don't want to use the same color on all the stems. You don't ever want to do that. I'm going to put a leaf in here. I'm going to turn it on its chisel side. And you see that little twist maneuver? That's how I did those little leaves. Just kind of twist your brush. Wiggle it and twist it. Wiggle and twist. You get some dry brush happening. So we have that dark color happening. Now let's get some bright green color. Grab more of the yellow, go right in there, and I got a chartreuse color. Don't want one note greens. You want many different varieties. Variety is the spice of life. Now I'm going to take that bright chartreuse green, kind of go in here and start pulling in some stems from the other flowers. Right? See how I'm just taking the chisel into this brush? And this one obviously is supposed to be darker over here. There's a sunflower. And I'll make a little leaf and a stem there. Look how quick this is happening, right? And I'm going to go in here to the colored purple ones and the blue, just making these little quick little stems. Just by using the chisel end of this brush. Look at that. It's so cool. Play with your brushes, people. I talk about this all the time. You won't know how good you have it when you don't play with it. Okay. So now we have a bright green and a dark green. I'm crisscrossing some stems here. You want to add maybe another green. So you ever try adding ultramarine blue? It's going to be like a sagey, kind of muted green. Look at that. Different kind of green. It's not as pretty. We can do a turquoise green. It should be kind of pretty. Remove some of this mess going on here. Use the peacock or turquoise color you have. Here's the peacock blue. And now we have a turquoise kind of green thing. Water it down a bit so it's lighter. I'm playing with color. That's the name of the game. And just taking the brush and manipulating it and tapping it and moving it around my page fairly quickly. See how quick I'm moving this? Don't think, just do it. Just throw it in there. See how I'm not thinking? I'm just kind of like moving it fast, pushing down on the edge, kind of twisting it and turning it. And already you have a bouquet. Like in 2 seconds. If you want more grassy like the one I just showed you with the wildflowers, you can kind of go in here. Just kind of fill it in. Get it like grassy. Get some dark tones. I'm add some Prussian blue and some brown, yellow. Get some dark in there. I was just using the dark around the light colored flowers and it really pops. See? Get that pop right next to that rose. It really helps. Now they pop. Just right in this section. Use a couple more in here. I'm just tapping in some dark tones. Boop, boop, boop. I'm just playing again. It's all about the fun. Right? Again, do some skinny stems in here. And you've got the nice little wildflower thing happening. It's always kind of fun to play with your brushes. So I take this Princeton 8 long round, for instance. I'll make more of a brownish kind of green here, like an olive green. Right? Go up, twist, and push. Oops. And you make a nice little leaf like that. Look how different that is, right? Because it's a skinnier brush. Different kind of leaf altogether. Kind of twist and turn it, make it go a different way too. See how I'm making it going like sloping down. Woo! Give it a variety. Again, I add some gray in there. It really popped, didn't it? Just putting some gray in there now. Up here. Get it all floppy. Lots of fun. You want to make everything stand out like variety wise. So I'm looking at it by standing up and I see that I want some dark over here and maybe a little bit under the yellow. And now we can enhance the yellows Go back in here, grab my yellow, a little bit of orange or pink, whatever. And you can go in just maybe corral around the edges of the petals that you did in the sunflower, add some depth with it. Don't have to go too crazy. And by the way, this color looked great. You can just do some ditzy little flowers out here, an orange, yellow. Chestnut green stem that you created out here. Look how that looks so great. Really, it goes really fast. Just throwing all those colors in. I'm going to go back in here and just kind of highlight some of these petals. My quick sunflower. Some got a little lost. Get a little darker down here. And then of course the center. So I like to use something simple. I use an umber and Paynes gray. And I'll just kind of go around this little circle and then I'll leave some white. That's kind of how I play around with this sunflower. Really simple. You don't have to get crazy. We're not doing a real perfect look anyway. Mix the two and do like a little one down here. And that's really kind of it. And I got another one going here. I forgot about you. Oh, don't forget about this guy, huh? I always leave a little white in the center there. So now you notice that your eyes going right to that black center. You want to punch up some of that pink you have. Maybe add some more bright rose. Really get it in there. I'm using the 8 long round. I'm going to wiggle some spikes kind of hanging out of this one. Over here too. Mostly on like one side, as you notice. I feel like that's the way to go. Otherwise, it's just kind of fake looking. More like one side. Funky, spiky flower. That stands out more. I just got filling it in with all kinds of colors. I've got this orange. I'm going to go back in here. And I'm not really doing much. I'm just kind of wiggling the brush around, as you can see. Kind of fill in some spaces. Some bright orange over in here. That's all you do. You can do some ditzy flowers up in here. What do I mean by ditzy flowers? Just like little doodads, little toot, little dabs. It makes a big difference. And you've created a wildflower bouquet in like 5 seconds. I'm telling you, that's all it takes. Go back in with some of your greens. Maybe fill it in. Some bright yellow greens. You could even just take yellow itself. I'll water it down. Very, very bright yellow chartreusey color. Kind of fill in some of these gaps that we have going in here. And then you have a beautiful flower bouquet. It literally took 10 minutes, baby. I mean, longer because I'm talking and giving you instruction. But if I wasn't giving you instruction, I would just kind of play around with this. Getting a little darker. Get some leaves. Try playing like the floppy kind of like stem. See how I did these floppy stems? And then doing some leaves off of those. You're creating a variety of greens and shapes. And it looks like a wildflower field just coming out. I just felt like they had every kitchen sink flower when I saw Monet's gardens by the house. They just threw it all in there. Of course, it was a little more structured than that, but you get the feel of it. Every flower. And that's how I approach it. I might want to go in with some blue if I want to fill in this area. So that one stands out a little more. Play around with it. Fill in some of the gaps and see what happens. But I think that's it. And how much time did that take me? Pfft, nothing. And everyone says, well, I can't do that. That's because you're thinking too much. When you're thinking too much, did you see how fast I kind of whipped this out and painted it? Try it. Don't think. Just kind of go in and whip out using your brushes, quick strokes on these flowers, and see what you come up with. I guarantee you're going to come up with something fantastic. Yep. So I'm trying to get back in the swing of things now that I'm home. And this is my wildflower introduction since I've been back. And I hope you enjoyed it. And listen, again, play with your brushes, play with your paints, The paper arch is great, so you can get those nice, really cool dry brush strokes. See that dry brush stroke? Love, love, love. And you see how I just moved it around? I would do the flowers first, throw in the green second, and really try to twist your brush, move your arms, go like this all the time. Don't beat the paper, just twist the brush nice and gently. All right, guys, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. Please don't forget to check the channel now because I'm back, and I had stuff out there when I was gone. It wasn't as frequent. It was twice a week instead of 3 times a week, but I still give you lots of content. So I hope you enjoyed this, and looking forward to more content to come. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.